Hello, this is Nathan Montierth with Vali Cyber's Threat Intelligence team, here to talk with you today about why sometimes traditional network defenses just aren't enough. Today we're going to be talking specifically about firewalls, including a brief demonstration of how firewall sometimes isn't a one-size-fits-all security solution. So specifically, one of the attacks that we're going to talk about today, just to give a little bit of context for the problem, is an attack from 2023 perpetrated by UNC 3886, which is a suspected Chinese hacking group. They were exploiting a zero-day vulnerability now known as CVE 2022-41328 in Fortinet's FortiGate firewalls. And what this allowed them to do is it allowed them to gain a foothold in the target network. Once they had breached the firewall, because that appliance had visibility to many of the other hosts that were running in that network, they were able to pivot to those hosts, do all kinds of other nasty attacks within that particular organization's network, and eventually they were able to deploy malware and gain a much more permanent foothold in that particular environment. Now, we could go into a lot more detail about this particular attack, but for our purposes today, the thing that I really want to hit on here is that the firewall itself was the initial access vector for this particular group of attackers. And that is because a firewall, just like any other hardware or software product, is prone to have vulnerabilities. Now, does this mean that you shouldn't have a firewall? No, it does not. Does it mean you shouldn't use network segmentation? No, it does not. It means that those techniques are an important part of a full spectrum network security posturing for any given organization and for any given network. To really drive this point home, our threat intelligence team has developed a homegrown attack chain that mirrors attacks like the one from 2023. In this scenario, our attacker will first discover that there is an enterprise firewall that is protecting the organization. They will launch a vulnerability against the firewall to gain access to it, gaining that foothold in the organization's network. From there, they will do enumeration on other hosts within that network, launch some brute force attacks, gain a more permanent foothold, and then conduct a data exfiltration attack. I'm now going to hand off to Joe Comps to do our actual demonstration.
Hi everyone, my name is Joe Comps. I'm a cyber threat analyst over here at Vali Cyber. And today I'll be demonstrating an authentication bypass attack against a Fortinet firewall utilizing CVE 2024-55591. Now the purpose of this demo is to actually use the firewall as kind of a jump off point, granting me access to the internal network and ultimately compromising an ESXi hypervisor on the other side. Now when this authentication bypass is complete, you'll see that I have an actual shell here on the firewall. What I'm going to do here is get some system and some version information on the firewall itself, just to kind of help me get an idea of, as an attacker, what it is that I'm working with. And yeah, we can see, okay, it is a Fortinet FortiOS firewall. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take a look and see what system administrators we already have on this account. You can see we have a couple admin accounts. Okay, so great. Now, as an attacker, what I probably want to do here is, in case my exploit itself isn't exactly stable, I'm going to go ahead and create my own kind of backdoor account, if you will, by creating a system administrator. We'll call it root. We'll set the password, something simple to remember. It'll just be password in this case. Okay, and added there. So now I'm just going to set the account profile, call that super admin. So this is going to grant me administrator rights, just like the other accounts there. And once that is good, which should be good there, I'll go ahead and show the system admins again, and you should see my new account created right there. And yep, there it is. You can see root. Okay, so I now have an account on this firewall, newly created credentials. What I'm going to do next is see what other systems this firewall here is talking to on the internal network by dumping an ARP table. And I can see here an IP address that looks pretty interesting. And with a little further enumeration, I would know this is the ESXi host I want to go after. So now I'm going to utilize a tool, kind of a homegrown tool that we created called Gatebreaker 3. And as I'm running this tool, I'm going to go ahead and put in the IP address of the firewall. And from here, the newly created admin account, root and password, put in my source IP. going to want to put in the IP address of our target. In this case, it's our ESXi host on the other side of the firewall. And what this tool does, it pretty much just automates the process of creating a firewall policy that will allow all traffic from my attacker machine to actually route through the network and actually get to reach the ESXi host on the other side. So yeah, as this is running through here, it's going to accept all the traffic that goes through. I'm going to go ahead and disable any traffic logging to try and just be a little bit more discreet and stealthy throughout my attack. And it looks like the policy was successfully configured. We can go back over to our firewall session over here on the left. And I'm just going to double check, see, just confirm that firewall policy is actually, yep, okay, so it is configured. And I now should have access to that ESXi host. Okay. So next, we're going to utilize another tool over here that's going to launch a brute forcing attack against the web UI of the ESXi host, or the DC UI. So I just have to input the target IP address here. We're going to be targeting the root account, and I will point this tool towards one of my word lists. Launch the attack. It's going to conduct some brute forcing here. Give it a second here. Okay, successful. So we found a valid password, which, it's a pretty simple password, but it does meet the complexity requirements. So now we're going to actually see if we can log into the web UI itself on the ESXi host. So we'll go ahead and type in that target address there. Looks like I messed it up. Well, I messed it up again. Okay, so we'll put in the IP address for the ESXi host. We'll log in with our captured credentials. See if this works. Okay, and we're in. Awesome. So now I can kind of look around here. We can see we have a virtual machine called Ron attached here. What I want to go over here in services is turn on SSH, which will enable me to log in to this ESXi hypervisor itself, which will grant me a little bit more flexibility to launch further attacks. So we'll log in as root, put in the password. Okay, and then run a quick uname, and there you can see, yep, we are on the ESXi host itself. Awesome, okay. It is a 6.7 version here. Go ahead and list out, so we'll go to the VMFS, volumes. Okay, we've got a few directories here. We're going to look at the data store directory and see, yep, okay, so there is our RON virtual machine right there that we saw earlier. And the final thing we're going to do here is kind of an interesting attack vector. Is we're going to actually utilize a tar archive to do some data exfiltration by zipping up this entire directory of this virtual machine. And we're going to download it, tar it up, download it to our own local machine, and extract it later for some more enumeration. And that is the attack chain.
Thanks for that demonstration, Joe. This attack against a Fortinet device is just one example as to why firewalls or other network security solutions aren't enough on their own. We should always be using a multi-layered approach to security, and that's one of the things that Vali Cyber's Zero Lock provides both to Linux servers and to hypervisors like ESXi. In the attack that we just saw demonstrated, once the attacker is in the position they were at the end, there's really not a lot we can do to prevent things from happening at that point. Had Zero Lock been in place on that ESXi host, then both SSH multi-factor authentication and lockdown rules would have stepped in to prevent the attacker from getting access even after SSH had been enabled and a correct password had been guessed, and lockdown rules could have prevented the exfiltration of the information that was extracted at the very end of the attack. To learn more about any of this, or to get a demo of these capabilities, contact us at info@valicyber.com. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.